not many, almost all of them had pretty good vision, and were really not complaining, so that's not, those patients will only show up if they had mom or dad go blind from wet AMD, right?
Yeah.
So the real patient that's showing up to see me more often than not is the patient who has intermediate AMD who's now starting to get early GA.
Okay.
They're kind of early patches of GA. And the part that kind of gets me riled up a little, and I talked to the head of, Alex about this, is that when they got it approved, they said that the laser was contraindicated for GA.
Right.
So it's a really sticky point, right? And it's not something I guess just from a standpoint of clinical usage, the majority, I've seen around the world some of the early investigations to TRT, they are certainly not limiting this laser to patients with just drusen. They are treating patients with early GA.
Oh,
the problem is when
no
you
doubt.
do so, you're doing so without real trial data, and you're doing so against the label, which is also a very kind of concerning, uncomfortable feeling. Even though in my heart of hearts, I don't have any issue at all as a physician thinking that at the very beginning of GA, if I can use the laser to upregulate the metabolism, slow down the progression of that GA, that makes sense to me, right? So I guess really where I'm hinting at is that because of that initial labeling and the way the lead trial was done, I think it's cutting out a group of patients and a large group of patients who might benefit from this laser quite a bit. But it requires another trial to kind of investigate patients with very early GA. So I would say that's kind of my long-winded way of saying that, the future of this requires to really target some of the patients who are a little further down the pathway than what they investigated in the lead trial. Because those are the ones who are starting to panic about, I'm going blind and every doctor tells me there's nothing they can do for me.
Right.
And so, is this laser a reasonable option when you start to get early GA, or is it a bad idea? And we really just don't know. All right. So I think that's the second part. And then the third part is you hear people doing all kinds of things with the treatment parameters, how many burns they apply, what the power is they're using, I think how frequently is most people are doing every 6 months. But again, that's another variable that has not been played around with academically at all.
Yeah.
So I think there's still work to do with figuring out the right dosing and the dosology and how many burns, where does it make a difference, how frequently, all those questions, your initial trial design with 12 burns every 6 months and do we know for a fact that's the right thing to do? We don't really know that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess really, I think when you kind of put all that together, I think that the technology is, optimistic, but I do think there's still a lot of things we need to sort out in terms of trying to optimize our results with the technology.
Yeah. I would say that that's the consensus of the three other doctors that I've talked to. So that's everybody hopes for more studies to kind of work out the details and